Hello and welcome to the Say Yes Movement podcast with Heather and John, helping you say yes to all the scary stuff, helping you grow your personal and professional growth. Hey Heather, how's it going today?
It's going good. Oh, last night was so adorable, John. All the little kitties came to my house for candy and any other goodies that I was giving away. Actually, I did a good thing. I ordered from Costco yesterday because I hadn't done all my thing, and I ordered this safe snacks for school. So my niece gave me sort of a crush. She's like, "You're giving out the crap candy." I'm like, "Oh, I can't win. I can't win." But I had this cute little kid, John, say to me when I gave him the Welch's gummies, he says, "Does this have pig in it?" And I said, "No, it doesn't have pig in it." Too adorable.
Oh my God.
I actually love Halloween. It's a fun, everyone gets to be something that they aren't, and pretend and imagination gets activated in parents, in children. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's funny. What showed up for me there was, man, talk about informed consumers, right? Like you got
And
this
he
kid
was
who's
like
asking.
5. Like he was
I
so
know,
cute.
I don't remember. We had some kids come by yesterday, which was fine. Like we don't have a lot because my neighborhood's pretty quiet, but we did have a few, and it was cute. It was cute. It was really
Yeah.
cute. Actually,
Yeah.
one kid was like, "Well, can I have that instead of what you're giving me?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Talk about
Negotiation skills, like
negotiation,
informed, yeah.
informed, like what a different world, right? Because I don't know about you, but I remember when we went out for Halloween, there was no asking for, hey, can I have some more? Or can we swap? Or does it have pig in it? Like there was none of that. Like it's candy, it's candy. We just eat candy, right? So we've made a lot of progress, or children have made a lot of progress in terms of just knowing what they want and going after it. Like, how
Yeah, yeah,
amazing is that, right? Talk about taking action,
absolutely.
right? Like, they're taking action on what they want, right? And what
Taking
they,
action on what they want. Exactly.
yeah,
I'll
exactly.
tell you another thing that happened last night, John. You'll love this one. So my next door neighbor had the full-size chocolates. And like I
Mm.
remember one house when I was trick-or-treating that gave out full-size chocolate. We ran to that house so quickly. But in order to get the full-size chocolate, you had to do a dance. And so we had
Wow.
literally a dance party on our driveway because we have a shared driveway, and it was so much fun just to see the kids go, "Yeah, I'll dance for that." And I mean, I felt like I was in my own little TikTok. It was really, really fun. But that movement, getting into the movement, because think
Mm.
about what's happened just moments before, right? The parents have tried to get home quickly from work. They try to get the kids in the costume, try to get them eating dinner. There's a lot of stress that's involved in that. So, just getting the kids out and dancing and getting the parents dancing, get everyone dancing was so much fun. And, we say
Yeah.
that, do your power pose, get up and do some movement. So it was a really, really fun night. And, just celebration of being bigger than you actually are, whether you have superpowers for the night or princess powers, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I'm wondering, is your neighbor NLP trained? Because what he did with that dance party is called a pattern interrupt, right? So it's so neat. There's things that we do that we don't even know that we do that help and enrich other people's lives, right? So something as simple as, hey, you want a chocolate? You want a full-size chocolate bar? You got to dance. All right. So,
Let's dance.
it helps interrupt the pattern of the stress of driving to, just like I saw it on the roads, right? Like people
Yeah.
just like anxious to get home and just wanting to be there for their kids, which is fantastic. Because I feel like this Halloween was probably the biggest, like since the starting of COVID, like where
Mm.
people were actually in full out in costumes and going like it was great to see how things have come back,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So come back in a good way. And I just wanted to take a second to say good morning to Moise. Great to have you here, my friend. And listen, we always appreciate your support and listening to the podcast. So Heather, what are we talking about today? I think we kind of touched on it already, but
Well,
yeah.
the people we're getting into that season where it's time to make year-end goals or to reflect
Mhm.
on, how the years went. And one of the things that trips people's up is is their own belief systems around what is possible. And we actually talked about this on Monday. Ted Lasso has put the word believe up in the locker room. By the way, we're now hooked. We're watching it, so I'll be able to catch up on the seasons that you're on. But this word believe is so important because it is, I would say, in 99% of the time, our own belief systems that actually are what gets in the way. We don't believe we're good enough. We don't believe we're smart enough to apply for the job. We don't think we're worthy enough to make more money. We don't think that we're, fit enough or young enough to be healthy. And those are limiting beliefs that some of them are our own, but there's some of them are from who we've actually modeled those beliefs after, such as our parents, our grandparents, or the people that we surround ourselves. So I want to talk more about beliefs because, the failure point on goal setting is quite high. And there's a reason for that. And it's because our actions actually have to trump or be better and bigger than our beliefs. And that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful. When I think of, yes, we're definitely, make sure you bring up the tissues for season 3.
Okay.
No, in terms of beliefs, it's the one thing that really holds us back, right? Like, it's so funny. Like, it's not that we don't have the abilities or we don't have the capabilities to do whatever, like, we can all do. And I'm going to say this bluntly, unless you have some sort of medical condition, but we can all do an Ironman. Right. So I'm throwing that out there into the world, right? Because even I, for the longest time, didn't have the belief that I could do that. And the only way to know is to do, right? Is to take that action, right? So if you don't, and you and I, we talked about this, right? Because we started, we started discussing in the B-roll, what does it mean to not follow through? Why do people drop off? Why do people not fully commit and get through to the end of the goal? And a lot of it is because in here, they don't think they can. Yeah. So they stop, right?
Yeah. And their belief system trumps subconsciously or consciously. Sometimes it's a mixture of both. Sometimes it's more on one side or the other. And that's why people get very frustrated because they're like, I don't know why this isn't working. And when you get down to their actions, you can see that they're not big enough to override their belief systems. So, someone, I'll use losing weight. They're like, I'm trying everything. I'm going to the gym. I'm eating right. I'm doing all these things. And then you go very macro to their day by day, hour by hour activity and eating patterns. And you see that they were over 50% not making great decisions. But for the other 50%, they did make great decisions. And really the delta is just, let's get you to 60% good decisions and 40% bad decisions as step one. And that's going to put you over the top for now you're going to start to see momentum. Now you want to see more momentum, get to 80, get to 90 good decisions, but it doesn't have to be 100% good decisions either when you're thinking about your health plan or your exercise plan. Now, I want to go back to your Ironman conversation, John, because I remember when you decided to become an Ironman, and I'm saying that identity very clearly because every time I said Ironman, you're an Ironman, what happened to, that was the face that happened. You actually pulled away from the conversation, like physically pulled away. So you had such a reaction in your belief system that your actual body pulled away from the conversation. And I was the one that was saying Ironman, and you were like, well, I'm going to do an Ironman, not going to be an Ironman. And that distinction, the moment that you finished your Ironman, there was no more identity crisis for you. And I'll call it a crisis because you hadn't done it yet. So it was hard to believe. And I mean, what was your experience in this? Because I'm only giving you my experience with this.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you. And, I didn't believe, like, so, as Ted would say, Ted Lasso, I didn't believe, right? Like, I just, wow, it's incredible to think that I've gone through that already, right? But you're right. Every time somebody said, oh, you're doing that, and it's like, yes, wow, okay. It wasn't until I got past the finish and I'm like, yes, right? Like, yes, this is who I am now. There was constant resistance, right?
Mm.
And even as I was preparing for this thing, there was resistance, right? Like so much so that Bob Proctor calls it the terror barrier, right? At some point, when you want to get through to your goal, there's going to be some resistance that you're going to face, right? Some part of that belief system that you have to break through, and sometimes what ends up happening is it will manifest itself in physical form, right? So
Mm-hmm.
your terror barrier or my terror barrier during this whole thing in March, I got a sinus infection that knocked me out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, like, it didn't take me to an extremely bad place, but it took me to a place where I started feeling depressed. Like, am I really going to do this? I really started to challenge, like, who am I? Right? Like,
Mm.
yourselves, who am I to do this? Who am I to have the right to go out and do this? I proclaimed it out to the world that I was going to do this. So and we can turn anything, like as speakers, as storytellers. The one thing we can do, we can turn anything into a story. And as I'm even doing my race, I'm like, even if I don't finish, I can talk about the journey to get here. And like, this is what was happening in my head was while I was in the water getting to the first buoy. I'm like, well, I can
Yeah.
story of not finishing, right? Like, it's not a big deal. At least I tried, right? But I'm like, hell no, right? Like, so there are so many things that pop up while we're, going after the things that we want.
Yes. And
Right?
your actions had to be bigger than a sinus infection, any of the
Mhm.
injuries that you were having, any of the pain that you were having in order to become an Ironman. You had to trump your beliefs. And that, when that resistance comes, and it comes for everyone. In fact, if
Mm.
you have not experienced resistance in the last, let's say 90 days, you're probably in the comfort zone and a really comfy place to be. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but you're not going to grow. That's just what's going to happen. So if you don't want to grow, stay in the comfort zone. But if you want to grow even a little bit, you've got to look at your life and say, what is showing up as resistance for me? And that resistance is the moment that your actions need to be bigger than your beliefs. That's the pivotal moment. And this is such an exciting moment, I know, for both of us as coaches, when that resistance comes and we see that the person, is just exhausted thinking about, what
Mhm.
action they need to take. But that's the key, is that they're thinking about it and not taking the
Do it.
actions. And the resistance just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And all that you have to do is take one step forward, take one action, do one small thing towards your goal. You didn't go and work out like you were doing when you had the sinus infection, but you didn't stay sedentary either. You went walking every single day.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
no, you got
those
to
are
keep
one
going.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you got to keep moving forward. Absolutely. And what's interesting, as you were saying that, when you get into action, you're present in that moment. So you're not
Mm.
thinking about, you're not really, as you get into it. So I'm going to try to articulate this in a way that, I hopefully people understand. But once you're in the moment and you just do, the belief of not being able to do it goes away because you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it already, right? So what I love, and this is what I love about exercise, right? When I do like exercise, whether I'm in the pool, I'm on the spin bike, whatever I'm doing, I'm just in that moment. I'm just focused on that activity. And this is why it's so great to move your body, right? Because moving your body gets you out of your head. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're out of your head, you can just do, right? And when you're doing, it's like, oh, you get to the end of it, it's like, wow, okay, that felt great, right? Like it's done. It's done. Now I can move on to the next thing, right? Like it frees you up in such a powerful way because you're no longer just sitting in your head thinking about should I. It's done. Now
It's
what's
done.
next, right?
Yeah.
It's done. What's next, right? And that's the thing with taking bigger action, because the action, we talk about, as we were putting this together, I was thinking chicken and the egg, what came first? Well, what came first, the action or belief? And I think when it
Mm.
comes to this, if you really want to transform belief, you need to take action.
Yeah. They go
I
together.
need, yeah. And so my question for you, Heather, so when you don't feel like taking action because the belief seems to be stronger than your action, what do you do? What are some of the things that you do specifically?
This is when I do negotiate. So I'm a really good negotiator outside and also inside my head. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, so you might not feel like doing let's say a 20-minute meditation. So
Mhm.
how about a 5-minute meditation? How about a 2-minute meditation? How about that's what you commit to? And, everyone can commit to doing something for 2 minutes. Everyone can commit to doing something for 2 minutes. So that, go to a smaller goal and see how that feels. And, once you've done 2 minutes, well that was too short. Now I need to add a few minutes. So that's one thing. The other thing that I do, I put one of my favorite songs on and I get up and I move. And, every
Mm.
song is 2.5, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. You have movement for that long, then go back and look at what was overwhelming you. And I'll tell you, it won't look the same because you've got up, you've moved, you've changed your environment, you've changed your body and your relationship to that stress, and you've gotten your blood flow moving. So, I love singing in the car. If you ever see me driving down the road, I'm speeding probably because I have a really good song on and I'm dancing. So, also use these moments that you have that you're sort of
Mhm.
contained to make sure that you're priming your body and your mind the best way possible. So those are just some fun things that I do every day. Every day this
It,
happens.
yeah, no, listen, I'm with you. It's sometimes, it's yeah, sometimes I feel like a 16-year-old in my car. I turn the crank up the radio, I'm just blaring and I'm listening and I'm just having a good time, right? It's just fun, right? Like we forget, as kids, right? We started off with talking about Halloween. What we've noticed in kids is they just go and ask for what they want, right? Like they
Yeah.
just do it. Like, I want that candy instead of that candy. I need to dance in order to get a full-size chocolate bar. Like if you really like action, right? Annabelle, you talk about that. That's where you're stuck, right? You have to take action. And action is what leads you to where you need to be, right? Like, and you're right, Heather. It doesn't have to be all the big stuff, right?
No.
As I was training, it wasn't about the 4-hour workouts. It's like, what do I need to do right now? And if 30 minutes is all I can do, then 30 minutes is what I get done. Sometimes it's 15 minutes,
Yeah.
right? And it may seem so small and so inconsequential, but in the bigger picture, it changes us. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I got it done. Okay, let's, just like with your, I was thinking about your push-ups, right? You started with one push-up,
Yeah, absolutely. And
right?
do you think, what else is a great thing is, everybody remembers to brush their teeth. You don't need a reminder. You don't need a sticky note. We all brush, I hope
Well,
we all brush
sometimes you
our
need
teeth.
a,
So
yeah.
maybe there is, think of something that happens every day in your life that you can tag on something that you want to do. So when I was getting ready for my Mongolia
Mm,
trip, every time I let the dog out to the backyard, I would do knee lifts. So while she was outside, I would
ooh,
just do knee lifts. And it was, however long the dog was outside. So,
nice.
attach action to something you don't have to think about and decide to do it. You're going to make the decision today, and then it's going to carry you forward going for every single day going forward. So that's another sort of mind trick that you can do to activate action, but not make it a decision. Because there's another concept, John, is that when
Mm,
it's a daily decision, you may make a different decision, but when it's a daily action, it's
mm.
completely different. So how can you tag on the action that you want to take to something that you're already doing? And that stacking will really help you be successful.
Yeah, no, listen, I love it. Action. And Felicia's taking action today, right? She's working on her HPL. She's got a Toastmasters open house today at 12 to 1. So I'm going to invite you to connect with Felicia, be a part of that. It'll help her in attaining her distinguished Toastmaster designation. So, yeah, talk about action, right? So action is what leads us to the goal, right? Like, so just, we got to get out of our heads, right? We can't just sit there and say, well, let me think about it. Don't think, just do, right? Like,
Yes.
so, the other day, I'm going to share this with you, and I'll share it with everybody. The other day, I knew I wanted to work out in the morning, but I kind of felt like I was going to be facing resistance in the morning. So I went to bed with my gym stuff on. This way,
I love it.
I
I
know,
love
I
it.
know. Actually, I remember the story that you shared of your client that
Or put her kids to bed in the school the
put
next day. Yeah.
kids to bed with their clothes, right? Um, I'm like, okay, so if I want to work out, why not just wear my stuff to bed and then I'll just work out in the morning? I'm done, right? I just got to slip on my shoes. I'm good to go. So, but it's little things like that, right? Like prepare.
Removing the resistance. I
Yeah,
love it.
remove the resistance. Get your stuff ready the night before, so you're not, for me, searching through through my stuff at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, it doesn't make other people in my house happy, and that doesn't make me happy. So creates problems. So just the little things, right? It's just the little things. So Heather, what is our takeaway for today?
All right. It's really, really simple. There is something in your life today that you are feeling resistance in. And I want you to choose one action that you're just going to do. Just do it today. So this is a today action. It means it's really small. It's really easy to do. And it's towards your resistance. Now, the action might be that you have to think about the resistance that you're having and write this down. That might be the smallest action that you want to take so that you get clear on what that action should look like. But don't just write. There needs to be some sort of action that you're taking today. So this is going to help you get into action mode, get out of your belief systems, and transform, because transformation is not sexy. It's consistency that you want to activate. So we're going to help you activate that.
Love that. Well, thank you, Heather. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Say Yes Movement podcast. Just remember, when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. Wishing you all a great one. Talk to you all later. Take care.